Hello and welcome back. I am AC Coppens, founder of The Catalyst, and I'm still your host to go on after the great pitches of Cinemalia and technology. We still stay in the field of technology, and we will go this time more into the sound field. And we have here with us Marc Orts, and he will talk about the constant evolution of sound technology from reproduction systems for cinema to those for audiovisual consumptions at home. And this masterclass is part of the Cinemalia and Technology Initiative, which has been backing of the backing of Creative Europe Media. And this masterclass is also included in Thought and Discussion, an umbrella for activities promoting discussion on the cinema from an industrial, creative, and vocational point of view. It includes conversations, masterclasses like today, which I'm going to introduce in a second, and interviews, because after the masterclass, I have the honor to interview a little bit more Marc. So this series includes conversations, as said, and masterclasses during the festival days. And the area runs throughout the year also at the Elias Querreta Cine Escola. One of the results of the collaboration with the Elias Querreta Cine Escola is the research project Cinemalia 70 with all possible stories. So this was a little bit of context. Why are we here? Where does it come from? And now back to Marc Orts. Let me introduce you to him. He's head sound recording mixer at Deluxe in Spain, meaning creative director of sound at Deluxe. He has won the Goya Award for Best Sound, as I said before, 5 times, and has worked for directors such as Bayona, Almodóvar, Monzón, Balagueros, and he has been working more than 170 films, and I don't even know the last exact stand. I have to ask him. Among which Lo Imposible de Bayona, Dolor y Gloria, La Pel que Habito de Pedro Almodóvar, Rec de Balaguero, Regresión de Amenábar. I could go on and go on and go on. He also participated in the creation of InSound, which is the precursor of Dolby Atmos, which was absorbed by Dolby. And he's also a professor at the ESCAC and the ECAM, and is a member of the Hollywood Film Academy. His masterclass, entitled Audiovisual Sound from its Origins until Full Immersive, taking place now, we look at the evolution of sound technology and the process of creating a soundtrack, depending on its reproduction format. So we will have a look at this together with Marc. He will approach the process of creating a soundtrack based on its playback format, doing a brief review of all of them, from Dolby through Atmos until full immersive. So pick up your headphones. Be ready to hear this. This is going to be fascinating. Marc, I would say the floor is yours. But before you start, I have just a first question, because you've worked in over 170 films. Which one was for you the most interesting to work sonically on, and why?
Hola, buenos días. Me voy a expresar en español. Básicamente te entiendo a la perfección, pero mi inglés es bastante malo para que me entienda todo el mundo. Pues básicamente de las películas podríamos poner 4 o 5 películas muy interesantes a nivel de sonido. Yo recuerdo una que es de Brad Anderson, de Machinist, con Christian Bale, que era a nivel sonoro.
Bale. No sound. Sorry, we have no sound. We'll start with
No teníamos la certeza de si podríamos venir al Festival de San Sebastián. Ahora solo nos queda pensar en cómo podemos llegar a San Sebastián. ¿Podemos llegar en tren? ¿En avión? ¿En ancha, ancha, ancha. En helicóptero. A pesar de eso, lo hemos conseguido. Bienvenidos al Festival Internacional de San Sebastián.
I hope you could hear me. This is a short introduction or presentation that we made exclusively for San Sebastian Festival with Cristina Mauri and the ARCS team. Let's start with the evolution of sound formats. As you may know, from the beginning of this story, when there was an audiovisual project, it should be as similar to reality as possible, as close to reality as possible. Since the beginning of the 20th century, professionals have tried to have a technology that covers the best image and the best sound. Until 1926 with Vitaphone, it was a reproduction in cinemas with an external disc that they tried to synchronize the pictures with this sound with this system. Let's see the history of sound cinema. This is the evolution of the most important titles regarding to sound. So, the jazz singer was the first sound movie. It was synchronized. Then Disney also, in 1933, Disney released the first project with the post-production of dialogues, effects, and music were done separately because at the beginning it was everything mixed up and done at the same time. At the same time in 1933 with King Kong, was the first sound design for a film, real sound design for a specific film. This formula was used in the next years. Then we had Fantasia, and with Fantasound, CinemaScope, with the Robe. They wanted to have more than 2 channels on the screen. And they did it, but the results were not perfect. The first who started to have quadraphonic systems were Dynaco. It was a conversion, matrix conversion with stereo, and then there was phase conversion. 4 channels appeared. This was the precursor of the system I will mention later on, Dolby Stereo. Cinerama was another technology. IMAX, quadraphonic systems, Sensurround. Except for IMAX, these were obsolete. And then we'll concentrate on Dolby Stereo, because it was the beginning of this technology. And still, we can see it being used now. Dolby Stereo uses 2 channels that are split into 4, with a left, center, right, and surround, but it's 2-channel coded. With Dolby Stereo, what followed was Dolby SR. It's an evolution. It codifies the signal with sound reductions, with noise reduction, because 35 millimeters were used, and it was longer, and it was more durable. So they used this system that evolved. It was used for the domestic use. It was called Dolby Pro Logic. Some of the machines that we have at home, some of our devices, still use Dolby Pro Logic. It does exactly the same as it did in cinema. It was a stereo conversion into 4 channels. In 1982, THX, it's not a sound system. It's a quality system in which you need more parameters so that this could be standardized. The type of loudspeakers, the type of screen, even the chairs were standardized, had to be specified, and even popcorn, why not? In 1990, Cinema Digital Sound, it tried to make conventional stereo disappear, and it used 5.1, that is 6 channels with no matrix. These channels are called discrete channels. Later on, Dolby Digital appeared. It was with us until 2012, in fact. It still exists, and we have copies with this Dolby Digital sound. It compresses the signal in order to introduce it in 35 millimeters project with a compression that is quite high. It's 12:1 compression ratio. This is the evolution. This is the story of sound until now, until 1992, and everything was channel mix. In order to understand what is that technology, a short description. We have the stereo sound, left and right. Then 5.1, it's Dolby Digital with 3 channels in front, 2 surrounds at the back, on the sides, and then 7.1, 2 surround channels at the back of the room. And today we have Dolby Atmos with these 4 loudspeakers on the ceiling. This is a brief introduction so that we can understand what are the physical channels where we send the audio signal directly to the channel. Later on, other systems emerged, DTS with less compression than Dolby Digital, but it included, well, it wasn't the sound incorporated into the picture. It's embedded with a time code, and you could play an external drive within the projection booth so that the sound could be heard. And compression was lower than Dolby Digital. Normally, if possible, this system was used. But it was difficult to consolidate. We made a lot of films with this, but it was more practical and it was easier than the Dolby Digital. In 1994, SDDS. This was short-lived, and there were front channels, LFE and R, and it was divided into 5 with 2 surrounds, plus LFE and the 5 front channel. And LFE is low-frequency channel, and the front channels had 5 different sounds: center, center left, center right, and right, like here in Spain. Dolby Digital Extended. This is the evolution of Dolby Digital 5.1 with 1 more channel. This lasted several years only because there was a complexity when encoding the surround signal at the back.
DTS también sacó un extended surround,
DTS, this is an extreme surround.
En el cual, ya digo, se utilizaba la fórmula estéreo del surround.
The stereo surround formula was used to divide it into three channels. Sonic Whole Overhead Sound in 2002 was the first attempt for immersive sound that used the surround channels, which were sent to loudspeakers on the ceiling. It was a signal that was sent to the back and to the ceiling in the movie theater. In 2010, Dolby 7.1, it was accompanied with a new playing systems, the Digital Cinema Package, DCP. This digital cinema package is what's been standardized in the whole world, and everybody uses this format. This is the reproduction sound for films, and this is real sound with no compression. What you get from the mix room is what you really hear in a movie theater. 3 front channels, 4 back channels, and 1 LC. We start with the beginning of immersive sound in 2011. I'd like to talk about ImSound. This is the project that was completely developed in Barcelona with a Spanish team. This is a semisphere in the cinema in order to have an immersive sensation, with a loudspeaker in the middle of the room, 4 in the rest of the room. This is Voice of God, that's the name of the loudspeaker. And then these the surround speakers, 1 in the middle of the room, and then underneath, on the floor, and the impression is very immersive indeed. 23.1 channels with 23 sound outputs, with 23 channels. It's a lot. This system was bought by Dolby. The only film with this system, ImSound, was Lo Imposible, The Impossible, and it helped Dolby to sell this system. Danny Zacarias, Tarragó, and myself, we were the meta testers of the system, and we helped the engineering team to develop a new system for ImSound in Dolby. And Bayona, the filmmaker, gave us the possibility to do the mixing of his film with this format. Aura 3D uses 2 layers, underneath, and the center, and on top. Just on top of the surrounds, 1 on the ceiling, and the Voice of God. The system is 11.1. This system is installed in many cinemas. It works quite well, and it's made in Belgium. They have an engineering team. They're very powerful there. Another example, EOSono. It was very successful at the time. It was the most complex and the most expensive system to be used in a cinema, because there are so many loudspeakers all over the place. The sound was very good, but it was so expensive. Then Dolby Atmos comes into the scene. Dolby Atmos has a main structure 2 hemispheres, the left and the right hemispheres. The Voice of God just disappeared. And the surround part is here, all around. On the left, at the back, on the right, you see here the surround system, and on the ceiling, it's exactly. But if you look into this, you see the brain with 2 different hemispheres for hearing. There are no loudspeakers at the top. It's the first technology that uses objects and channels at the same time. I gave you the example of channels in order to understand where the channels are placed, are located in the cinema. Because we continue to work with channels at the moment, but now new difficulties appear in post-production. We have more problems because we work with channels and now we work with objects. As you see, here, this shows a post-production tool with all the channels that we could have in the theater, in the cinema. This tool tells us where's the left, the central, and the right channel, and you can choose this sound channel and send it wherever you like. Now, different plugins appear. What's important is not the channels, but the position where the sound is located. Channels disappear and objects appear. This is an image of, it's a graph of the placement of objects with the tools that Dolby has just released in Dolby Atmos. So channels disappear and you can place the object in any place in the cinema and you can hear it, and you don't need to send it to a loudspeaker because the object can share between 4 to 5 loudspeakers at the same time. Let's get to the nitty-gritty. We can pick a mix of 5.1 discrete channels that we can send to each channel. These are sound files which are discrete. I pick a channel and a file and I can send it to this channel. The object has metadata information with render master unit that Dolby uses. You can read the sound and you can read the position. There's metadata reading system, so you could perfectly locate the position of the object wherever you like in the cinema because you use coordinates. So we have Atmos for cinema, and Dolby thought about why not using Atmos Home. This is one of the most essential tools in the market at the moment. Why? Because these are the channels, this part here you see the objects. And when you do the master with your mix in Atmos Home, if you do a pre-configuration, you could transform this master and you could divide it into the number of materials that people ask us for broadcasting. So I'll try to explain myself. When we do a mix and a sound design, when we finish it, we need to get the final mix with dialogues, effects, and music, and we need to get the international band with no dialogues, and then we need to produce the pre-mixes, stems, dialogues, effects, and music. We have to produce it in 5.1 stereo or Atmos. That's what we are asked for. This tool, with just one recording, it gives you the possibility to get all these materials at the same time. Pre-masters, M and E, and the stems. These are the pre-mix group that you can have the re-render at the same time. So it's very fast. I'll explain what is the Atmos Home. Here we have 3 front channels, the surrounds on the sides and the top part on the ceiling. There's a little problem here. Our mix in Atmos Homes are very faithful. We do what production asks for, what the filmmaker asks for, and we are creative, but it's the only space where we can reproduce it in this way. When we have a content with Atmos Home, we send this content to the platform, and this platform, in turn, has its own broadcasting channels. So the platform sends the content to the streaming system, telephones, television, computers, and they send the Atmos file. But at home, if you don't have this setting, you cannot have the perfect sound. In time, I think people are going to be equipped, because this will be available in flats in your home, and people will have so many loudspeakers around in order to have this faithful sound. And now full immersive. Everybody doing research, and people are looking for the best capture of sound. What is the full immersive quality? Well, full immersive in cinemas, in home, and in cinema theaters, this is already being used. It's very efficient, but the type of hearing or the type of sound that is normally used is specific to a content. But it depends on your installation. Normally, these people use full immersive with headphones. You can have a very powerful system at home with an X number of loudspeakers, because people have sound bars. It's more or less functional, but we want to go beyond. The best system is with headphones. Why? Because 50% of our youth, 50% of our youth, of our teenagers use headphones, and use their phones, and they use their computers, and basically they hear through headphones. Okay, I'll show you 4 demos, and I'll explain how full immersive works. Okay, let's see the videos.
Los sistemas de sonido inmersivos llevan creándose varios años. Y como veis, o mejor dicho, como escucháis, el efecto es muy realista. Este sistema trata de recrear el punto de vista sonoro humano, creando un entorno inmersivo y natural. Hoy en día nos movemos arriba o abajo, de izquierda a derecha, con un móvil en la mano, con una tablet o con el portátil. Y la mayoría de veces, por no decir casi siempre, en el tren, en el avión, en un hotel o en casa. Así que utilizamos los auriculares para poder escuchar y atender mejor lo que vemos. Perdón, pero me están llamando. Sí. No, ahora no puedo hablar. Vale, sí, llámame, sí, más o menos, una hora o así. Muy bien, gracias, hasta luego. Os queremos enseñar cómo podemos interactuar con este sistema dentro de vuestras producciones y crear experiencias para el espectador mucho más inmersivas y realistas. Oigamos unos ejemplos de cómo podemos interactuar en el mundo audiovisual con este sistema.
La única urgencia que de años es la primera vez que el muro de Berlín deja de existir, de hecho, para los ciudadanos de la otra Alemania. El 9 de noviembre de 1989...
¿Hay alguien en la casa?
Jack, ¿qué pasa?
Jane está fuera.
Con este sistema estoy a punto de comerte. Y aunque creas que estoy aquí, ¡estoy aquí!
Vale, pues estos son un poquito los ejemplos de
So
cómo,
these were a few
estamos trabajando con
examples
este sistema.
to show
Partimos de
how
una
we are
base
working with the
binaural
system.
en el cual estamos generando
We
a
are
partir de esa escucha
generating
binaural unos
from that
filtros
neural
propios
listening some filters
para poder
so
generar un
as to be able
contenido
to generate
lo más
contents,
inmersivo posible.
immersive contents,
En
as much as
principio,
possible.
lo que nos estamos dando cuenta
What
con la
we
parte más
are
inmersiva a
realizing
través de
with this
auriculares es
immersive
que
aspect with the headphones
necesita
is that
de utilizarse
we need to
no en todo el proyecto,
use
sino necesita
not all
utilizarse en
through
varios
the
puntos
project,
determinados
but
para
they
que tenga
need to be used
realmente
at certain
su
points,
efecto, ¿no?
these
Es
headphones,
decir,
so
si
as to
nosotros
obtain the right effect.
tenemos un contenido
If we
completamente durante
have
todo el rato
contents
inmersivo, al
which are
final
fully
lo
immersive
detectamos
all the
como,
time,
como algo
then that
real,
will
¿no?
be
No
detected
lo
as
detectamos
something
como
real. It
un
won't
extra,
be
un extra más,
detected
¿no? Nos
as
acostumbramos
just one
rápidamente, el
more
oído humano
extra
se
element.
acostumbra
Our
rápidamente a este tipo de
human
cosas.
ear will get used to that
Entonces,
type of listening.
estamos en un proceso todavía de
So
investigación.
we are still researching, trying to know more.
Pues estos filtros
We
que se
would like
llaman
to create these
HRTFs, que
filters,
son básicamente
these filters,
los
which
que darán
are
ese
those
colorido
that
y
will
esa
give us that color, so as to
profundidad
say,
sonora,
that
esa parte
depth,
más
that
inmersiva.
sound depth, that immersive
evidentemente estos
aspect,
tipos de filtros ya
because
existen en el
these
mercado,
filters, they
utilizados
already
con
exist on the
con
market,
otros plugins,
being used with
como
other
podéis ver,
plugins,
y más o
such
menos
as
son
you
unos
can
filtros
see,
que se llaman
and these
estándar, ¿no?
filters
Entonces
are
nosotros lo que
standard
estamos intentando es
filters.
crear
So
un
the idea is to
filtro
create
único, ¿no?
a
Único, con la
unique
mejor escucha
filter
posible, con la mejor inmersión posible,
with the best
donde puedas
immersion
detectar, la
possible,
parte
where you'll be
inmersiva
able
a
to
nivel-
detect
a
that
nivel,
immersive part,
de distancia, como nivel de posicionamiento.
both in terms of
Entonces,
distance, distancing, and
estamos
positioning. So that
proyecto.
is what we are researching
Vale.
into.
Dentro del sector,
In this
dentro
sector,
del sector de inmersión,
in the
estamos,
immersive sector,
empezando a ver que
we
la
are
parte de realidad
just,
virtual
we
está
see
cogiendo
that
mucho
virtual
peso,
reality is becoming
con lo
more and more
cual,
important.
pues bueno, sabemos también
We also know
que la parte inmersiva a nivel
that the
visual
immersive
empieza a
aspect
estar
from
ya
the
muy
visual point
conseguida,
of view is
y
already
tenemos un pequeño vacío
very well
todavía en la
done,
parte
but we still
sonora
have
de
things to
tipo de-
improve from the sound
en este
point
tipo
of
de
view
contenidos, ¿no?
when
Porque
we
si os
speak about
fijáis,
these
todavía,
contents. Because as
básicamente
you can see,
en la parte trasera de las
in the
Oculus, o de
rear
las gafas
part
inmersivas
of these
de realidad virtual,
immersive
los altavoces
goggles,
son muy
the
pequeñitos, están aquí
loudspeakers
detrás,
are
en la
very
parte
small.
trasera,
Here they are,
y
and
lo recomendable es escucharlo en
the
auriculares.
ideal thing would
¿De
be to
acuerdo?
use
Igualmente
headphones,
en este tipo
just as here.
de gafas tenemos la
With these
escucha
goggles, with these
con unos
glasses,
pequeños
we
auriculares, ¿no? Es
have
decir,
these little
estamos intentando
headphones on
emular
the side. So we are
una
trying
sensación muy
to
inmersiva,
imitate that highly immersive
donde la
sensation
imagen lo es
where
mucho, el
the
sonido lo es
image
relativamente. O sea,
is very
es mucho más
immersive
inmersivo
and
todavía
the
la
sound
parte
still has to be improved.
cinematográfica, ¿no? La
The
parte de las salas de
cinematographic
cine, de los
part
teatros,
in movie
en el
theaters
cual, si tú generas contenido inmersivo,
is
se
already
disfruta
there.
mucho más en la
If
parte
you are going to be generating immersive contents, you will be able to
Bueno, y hasta
appreciate
aquí
that and enjoy
una
it in
primera
movie
parte. Yo no
theaters.
sé si
So this is the first
AC,
part of my presentation.
cómo vamos de
I don't know,
tiempo.
AC,
Yo
how are we doing with
no
time?
tengo
Well, tell
mucho
me.
feedback.
I
Hacemos
don't have any
continúo
feedback,
un
so
poquito más.
maybe should I continue a bit more?
Sí, sí, sí.
Ok,
Yeah,
Ok,
sure.
Tienes
You have
20 minutos.
20
20
minutes,
perfecto.
20 more minutes.
Vale, muy bien. Pues
Perfect.
mira, lo que he hecho básicamente son
basically,
ejemplos de cómo hacemos la postproducción.
Let me tell you now a bit about
Normalmente,
post-production. I will be giving you some examples.
Postproducción real,
In order to do real
evidentemente,
post-production, of
evidentemente,
course,
trabajar
we
con
need
diálogos
to
por
be
un lado,
working with
efectos
the
audio por otro,
dialogues,
crear
with the
efectos
effects
especiales
to
por un lado,
generate special
ambientes
effects.
y
We
fondos
need environments,
por otros, es decir, vamos
backgrounds.
haciendo capas y capas,
So
las
layer
músicas si
after
son necesarias, y
layer,
luego hacemos
music
la
if
mezcla al
it
final.
is necessary, and then we
Este
do
tipo
the
de
final
metodología de
mixing.
trabajo
This
es el
work
es el
method
habitual, es el
is the
estándar en que
usual
más o menos
standard
todos
working
los
method
profesionales
that
del sector
all
trabajamos.
the professionals in the sector
¿Cómo
are
aplicarlo
using.
luego a sonido
What about the
inmersivo?
sound, the immersive
Pues depende de las
sound here? Well,
herramientas
it
que
will
utilices. Yo os voy a poner
depend on the
varios
tools being
ejemplos,
used. And I will be
¿vale?
sharing
De
with you
postproducción de
different
sonido de Matar al
sound
Padre, una serie de Movistar que
post-production
hizo
examples.
Marc Orts.
Matar
Os
el
voy a
Padre
poner un
by
minuto
Marc Orts,
de cada, de
a
la misma
Movistar
pieza,
series.
viendo
And
cómo
let's
trabajamos en
see
cada
how
proceso
we
y crear
work
así la mezcla.
and how we are able to create and generate the final mix.
Valeria, nos vamos. ¿A dónde? No preguntes, esto se va a poner muy feo, ¿no lo ves? A ver.
Y precisamente sobre el miedo
Va a caer.
al poema que le he escrito a Carla
Ya.
y que me gustaría recitaros.
Un chubasquero, ¿qué te parece que es? A ver, vete la mano, vete, yo te lo pongo, yo te ayudo. A ver.
Una noche de mucho frío, te quitaste el abrigo y reías. Una tarde el sol quemaba.
Esto es el sonido directo en bruto que nos llega a nosotros.
This is the sound that we are getting.
when we start to do the
Y
post-production,
este sería el resultante
the
de
raw
cómo
sound.
quedarían los
And this
diálogos
is
después
the
de un proceso
result
de
after,
Valeria.
having editing the dialogues, after mixing.
No preguntes, esto se va a poner muy feo, ¿no lo ves? A ver,
Y precisamente sobre el miedo habla el poema que le he escrito a Carla y que me gustaría recitaros.
¿Qué es
A ver
esto?
si esto
mucho
no
más
se
quiero,
vuela.
¿qué te parece que es? A
Un
ver,
día.
mete la mano.
día.
Yo te lo pongo, yo te ayudo.
Una noche de mucho frío, te quitaste el abrigo y reías. Una tarde el sol quemaba.
¡Hostia!
Tranquilos. Vamos a recogerlo todo.
Tapa al niño. Cuidado con el niño, que no se moje el niño. Venga,
Max, ven aquí,
vamos,
ayúdame con
vamos.
esto.
Corre, no te pares.
Luego haríamos la capa de
Then there is a
pasos
further
y
layer
ropas de efecto
with
sala, que
steps.
se llama así coloquialmente entre los equipos de sonido
Steps and
Foley's,
clothing, those are the
en
follies.
inglés. Iríamos a otra capa de efectos sala, que
So
serían los efectos
another
que llamamos
layer,
sincrónicos.
now synchronous effects.
Luego añadiríamos los efectos
Then we
especiales.
would be adding special effects.
Avanzo un poquito porque hasta aquí no
Let's
aparecen.
move a bit forward.
Luego una capa de ambientes.
Then environments, a further layer. Atmospheres.
Luego otra capa de fondos.
Then backgrounds.
Vientos. tendríamos la suma total de los
Here
efectos.
we have the total effects, all of them together.
Y aquí la mezcla final, que es lo que podemos escuchar dentro de la
After the full effects, the final mix.
He trabajado
Valeria,
para sentirme bien.
nos vamos.
¿A dónde?
No preguntes, esto se va a poner muy feo, ¿no lo ves? A ver,
Y precisamente sobre el miedo habla el poema que le he escrito a Carla y que me gustaría recitaros.
¿Qué es
A ver
esto?
si esto
mucho
no se
vasquero,
queda.
¿qué te parece que es? A ver, mete la mano, yo te lo pongo, yo te ayudo.
Una noche de mucho frío, te quitaste el abrigo y reías. Una tarde el sol quemaba. Tranquilos, tranquilos.
Cuidado con él, que no se moje.
¡No me empujes!
Pues básicamente,
Well, basically,
esta sería
that's it.
la
That
presentación.
was my presentation.
Esta sería la presentación del sistema. Entonces, no sé si AC, if you
That
want to
is
do
the
some
system.
questions.
It is so fascinating, Mark. I was really watching this and I was like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I see all these layers. It's
Yeah.
the first time for me that I see such a fantastic thing. I'm sure in the audience we have great people into sound that were already advanced, but for me, it was already very interesting. So thank you very much for the presentation at any case. A fantastic review you've been doing. And maybe I would like to ask you, like right now, who do you think is the pioneer in sound in cinema right now? What does the newest technology look and sound like? Where do you see the future happening in your field?
Wow, es un pelín complicado. Está
That's a
claro
bit
que
difficult to answer.
en Estados Unidos
In the US,
es la
in
meca
the
del
United
cine, también es
States,
la
of
meca
course,
a
that
nivel de
is the
criterios
mecca in
técnicos
terms of
y
cinema,
de
and
sonido
also
sobre
in
todo.
terms of technical aspects and sound.
Visualizar el futuro,
They are the biggest experts.
no
So,
lo tengo muy claro todavía.
the future,
No sé qué
I do
pasa,
not know
evidentemente,
what to
por
tell you.
la parte
I
inmersiva,
know that
está
the
clarísimo,
immersive
¿no? Pero,
aspect has to be there. That is only evident.
se está trabajando ahora
But
en
people are
cómo
working a
el
lot
sonido tiene que ser,
on
es decir, qué
how
calidad
should the
tiene que tener
sound
el
be,
sonido.
what
Normalmente
should
ahora
be
estamos trabajando
sound's
a
quality.
48
Now we
kilohercios,
are working at
24 bits
48
de resolución,
kilohertz,
pero ya
24
en
bits,
Estados
that is the
Unidos y
resolution, but
algunos
in the
profesionales aquí en
US,
España están
and some
trabajando a
professionals here
96
are
kilohercios,
working with
o
96
32
kilohertz
bits
or
o
32
64
bits
bits.
or
Es decir, lo
64
que están
bits.
implementando
So what
es la
they are
mejora
implementing
sonora, ¿no?
is
Es
that
decir, de
sound
cómo los
improvement,
ambientes tienen que sonar,
how
pero a nivel
the
cualitativo. Es como
atmosphere, how the sound should
cuando
be.
escuchabas un disco en un CD,
When
o lo
we
escuchabas
used
en
to
un vinilo,
listen
¿no? Entonces
a
quieren se está
CD,
buscando
and
la
you know the
máxima
difference comparing in a
resolución
vinyl,
sonora.
so they want to have the maximum
Eso es
sound
lo
resolution.
que se está
That
trabajando mucho
is
ahora.
what
A
people
nivel de
are
futuro,
researching into.
yo
In
creo que
terms of the future, I think
el futuro
that
sería que todo el mundo tuviera
in the
Atmos
future,
Home en casa.
we all should
En
have
tu propio
Atmos home
apartamento, que tú
in
tuvieras
our
en tu escuchar
apartments.
para que la
We
gente
should
pudiera
all have
disfrutar de este
Atmos
proceso.
home so as to be able to enjoy this
The,
process.
Before I ask about La Casa, because I'm very interested to see what's happening in the house, I mean, I can try also a little bit of Spanish, but
No, sorry.
¿Cómo impacta la tecnología de
What is the
sonido
impact of
actual
sound
en la
technology
película?
on the film. We have directors, the filmmaker. Are they paying attention? Are they paying more and more attention to this? And are they creating content based upon sound and technological developments? I think, yes, many filmmakers, many directors, they know about technology. They know about these technologies. They know a lot about image technology. They know much better about post-production methods. But in terms of sound technology, they know a bit less. And of course, there are many exceptions, but when they have a scenario, a script for them, it is only evident how they want their characters to look like, but they do not think about how they want the characters to sound, how do they want them to be heard. Maybe they can have the music in mind, dialogues in mind, but sound technology is something that they do not have in mind. Directors. And I think that is something that little by little is going to change. We professionals, we need to sell producers and directors these technologies so that they can know about them and so that they can use and take advantage of them. J. Bayona, for example, he is an expert. He knows a lot about that. Jaume Balagueró also. He knows a lot about these post-production tools. Amenabar as well. They know more and more about these systems, and they are able to use them, but they need a bit of help. We need to help them. And talking again about systems, please tell us about the automation in terms of mixing. Are mixings automated? And I am thinking about artificial intelligence, AI. I think that is becoming more and more important in terms of sound design, right? AI, artificial intelligence, in terms of sound, no, we are not using artificial intelligence. What do I mean? Sound design needs to have somebody providing his or her own creativity when doing this sound design. So maybe we can end up automating certain elements such as the dialogues or the atmospheres. But in terms of the process, yes, those technical processes can be automated, but we still do not have a robot with ears which is able to listen and to determine what is good and what is best. That would be the part of AI you are referring to. Robots have no ears yet. This automation only takes place when we have a technical process, but then when we need to hear, to listen, AI is not being used yet because that requires that creative emotional component or sensorial component, which it still doesn't have. Very well. Let's go back to La Casa. Let's go back home. What can you tell us about immersive sound in home cinema? Well, that can end up being marvelous. If you can have speakers and loudspeakers on the ceiling and then in the rear part, you know, with this surround approach, if you can have those loudspeakers, you will be able to enjoy the work having been done by us professionals. But the problem is that you will either need a very big space, a very big room, a mini movie theater, and immersive sound technologies we have today. If you do not have that, then you need a sound bar. You know, sound bars which have their own channels, but they, you know, that is reflected on the ceiling so that you have a much more immersive feeling or sensation. But I do not have that at home. I don't have it. So I'm not using that, basically because I can enjoy it at my work, in my studio. Do you know Lofelt, this company, or Philbelt?
In English a little bit for the audience, it's a bracelet to have, and it gives you, it's immersive, right? You listen to the music, and then you have this bracelet, and then you feel the beats in your body. It's really interesting. I mean, I as I tried it, it's not new. I mean, it's a couple of years ago. As I tried it, I remember I was like, oh, I will never listen to anything else because I have the impression the sound is too flat otherwise. It was giving another dimension. I'm thinking also of products like Philbelt. I think it's a German product also made in next to Berlin, where I think it's a belt, and the same, it gives you a new dimension. So how do you feel that could fit in the cinema sound industry? Can we see cinemas with maybe seats organized with Philbelt? I mean, we have this in VR already, right? With how do you see this?
Claro, o sea, todo lo que sea improve, o todo lo que sea mejorar una
well, all the immersive improvements will be welcome. But at the end of the day, you will have the goggles for virtual reality, the headphones, the bracelet, the belt.
Robocop.
And yes, and you will be Robocop. For me, it's okay. But I didn't test it. You told me about that. I saw the website. There's a vibrational belt with small loudspeakers. Very small speakers that are embedded on the belt. For me, it's viable, it's feasible, but the content is important. In order to enjoy content, you need time. Sometimes people don't take into account what young people do. The youngsters have headphones and the smartphone only. So people today don't want to mess up with many devices. Just headphones and the small smartphone. But we, sound professionals, we want big screens, the most immersive sound, the belts, and so on. But we need to educate the world with this technology. We speak about the future. And there's a fusion and the merger between the game industry and cinema industry. The Black Mirror interactive episodes is an example. What about the effects of interactivity and the multiplication of new possibilities? What do you think about that? And what's the implication for sound design? Yes, we are writing down a project here in LAX, in our company. We have a small project. It's a virtual reality cinema. There's a part that is quite clear. We know the sound design has to be immersive. And then there's another part that is not clear to us yet. Well, we'll have the gaming style in the future, and EA. It's gaming more than cinema, I think. More than 120 years, we started to watch movies, and people still see a screen with dialogues, and people enjoy movies with good music. And that's all for many people. But we didn't do the switch, the shift. There's a shift of paradigm. That's cinema, and that will be cinema in the future, even though you use EA goggles, you'll have virtual reality, VR will be all over the place. But you know that's not cinema, that's different. So we need more steps to make the difference between real cinema and VR. And sometimes it will merge, and maybe one day it will be more connected. What is the most important thing in your work? What is the question that is most important for you in the industry sector? We need more content, production of content. Then people will have the resources, enough money to make movies, to make content. In my circle, in my professional world, with sound professionals, what is the question? Well, you need to be awake, to be open to new technologies.
Está claro que lo que está más lo que es más importante ahora
now, what is key for professional material, we're talking of Dolby Atmos, and everybody's thinking about that. I'm talking about platforms, HBO, Movistar, Amazon, and Netflix, all the content. And even Apple, and everything is done in Atmos Home. That's the focus now, Atmos Home. But little by little, we need to find more. We need to help platforms too. We need to know what is the technology that each one is developing in order to get to a common ground. If we go back to the history of sound movies, everybody's done its own system, but Dolby is the winner at the end of the day. So we'll need to see all the inputs to meet with channels, with HBO, with Amazon, with Netflix, whoever, to explain what's the future. And they have their own R&D departments. And they need to find new products so that people can hear them. I like future and technology, and I want that. My last question. What would you like to see in the new sound? What do you imagine for the future? For in surround sound, what would you like to have that you don't have yet in your professional work? There's one very important thing, and now we have a handicap when we listen to immersive sound. We'll have a major handicap. The front area doesn't exist. There's no sound in front of you. You just have the sound in your ears. You have the sides and then the back area, but nothing in front. For me, it's the front part that lacks sound. Normally, we have these headsets and we have stereophonic hearing, and we need something that surrounds you, but we need the frontal area. When you use pictures, if you have a picture in front of you, which is normal, your head goes to the center in front. But if you don't have any picture or any screen, everything is happening behind you and laterally on the sides. And that's the technology gap for us now. And we need to discover how to introduce front sound. How can I imagine future in the sound sector? Like years and years, the series, they had a mask. We need little speakers here somewhere hanging over our heads. I don't know.
It's okay. We will see for sure. I mean, and probably there are some things we cannot predict. Well, thank you very much for this conversation, Marc. I hope you bear with me with my French accent when I'm speaking Spanish, and my Spanish is not actually that good.
No, it's perfect. Your Spanish is better than my English.
Well, I did not have the translation to hear you here, but I understood everything. So thank you very much to make this also understandable for me as your moderator. It was a great pleasure. I'm fascinated. I mean, I love I think that sound really makes 50% of the film for sure, right? It is, I believe, I'm coming from a musician family, and I believe that sound, voice, which is vibrating in us, is where the emotion is the strongest, right? I mean, of course, we see the eyes and etc. Of course, it is impressive, but what makes it vibrate, you know?
It's the emotional part. It's the emotional part.
Exactly. So thank you very much. I hope that the audience also really enjoyed this masterclass with you. Thank you, Marc. See you soon again. I hope I want to come next year to San Sebastian. You know, in real life.
I've been in San Sebastian 4 years ago, every year, and it's bad luck for us with the situation to not
next year.
come again. Yeah, next year, I think.
Next year we'll meet in person. Thank you so much, Marc. And now I'm going to give the final words. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yo quería agradecer a todo el equipo técnico que hay detrás, a José.
I'd like to thank my technical team, Jose, and all the people working in Tabacalera. Thank you for doing this session. It wasn't easy.
And for us, well, it's very short. It's just to say thank you for everything. I think it was a great event into the future. And the most important thing now is to announce that the Cinemaldia Startup Challenge awards will be announced around 8 o'clock. And it takes place tonight at on the festival TV. So don't miss it so that we know who wins. We did not have any projects about the sound, but maybe next time, right?
Okay, I want to bring next year one project like this.
Exactly, exactly. And bring also like girls in the sound and tech system so that we have more diversity, and then we will bring them to San Sebastian and it will be all great. Anyway, thank you to everyone, and see you soon again, I hope in real life or to a next film festival, probably about sound and images making the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.